And we might read it and see it as like this moral question of should you gamble or should you not gamble? But I don't even think that was Mark Twain's intention in writing this. And I think your picture of capturing like a still life or a plein air painting is a very good way of putting it. Yeah. Because while we see it as something that might not have much like meaning to it, it's a way like that Mark Twain captured a moment in time and turned it into art.
Welcome back to the Rooted Minds podcast, where we come together as a family to talk about books and our emotions. And in this season, we've been talking through some very interesting short stories, and today is no different. We're talking about a story by the legendary Mark Twain, The Notorious Jumping Frog of Calaveras. So it's going to be a very interesting one to talk about, I think.
Yes, The Notorious Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, because part of the story has to do with this place. But to begin, Mark Twain, we all know him for other stories, not necessarily just this short story, but this was the first one to kind of bring him fame, the first well-known, successful story that he wrote. And it was published in 1865, and that's important because of the timing of when this story was written. It was written during the like cultural setting of the California gold rush. So there's a lot of like rich cultural elements to this that have to do with just like California in this time and things like that, which we'll get into in a little bit. But to begin, let's just summarize this story.
Tell the story.
Yes.
It's like an Inception story.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy that's like being duped by his friend to go find this guy to tell him a story that's just going to waste his time. So in the process, we are listening to a story of a guy whose time is wasted.
That's meant to waste time.
Yes. It definitely is Inception.
I see what you did there, Mark Twain.
So if you're reading or listening to this, you kind of find yourself at the end like, what?
Wait, what? Yeah.
What did I just read?
Literally. Exactly. And it can be, because there's so much of that Inception kind of thing, sometimes it's easy to get lost in it. Because the narrator, do we know the narrator's name? Or it's just...
I don't know.
I think it's just...
He just speaks.
Him.
He has a friend that tells him to go ask this guy.
Right, making it feel like it's you, kind of. You know?
Right. Kind of.
POV, you know.
Yeah, and so he's going to find information about Reverend Leonidas W. Smiley.
Sounds like a very important person to go find.
Yeah, it's a very fun name.
Mr.
Honestly.
Smiley.
And he already suspects it's kind of gonna be a waste of his time or a trick or something. But when he arrives in the mining camp, he meets Simon Wheeler. And Wheeler then starts telling him another story about Jim Smiley.
All the stories.
A whole different thing. He starts getting trapped in this conversation.
So this isn't even the same Smiley?
I think it is.
Reverend Leonidas W. is Jim?
Wait.
No, that's a good question.
Wait a second.
That also feels like one of those like mess with you things like, oh, right. You know, like.
Jim Smiley, for sure. Are we even talking about the same guy? I assumed it was just like a shorter name, but it's like one of those details Mark Twain gave.
I guess do you shorten Leonidas to Jim?
I don't know
Jim
about that.
Jim for sure.
But this whole thing starts talking about Jim Smiley and a frog. And
the notorious jumping frog.
The notorious jumping frog and Jim Smiley's big problem with compulsive gambling.
And all of he's like a circus act himself.
He really is.
He's like training all these animals to do the thing that they're like innately made to do.
Yeah.
I made my frog jump. Wow. Wow.
He spent hours training it.
Training it to catch a flea.
Right.
All right.
And his whole point is to like bet with people that his frog can jump higher than yours or on anything.
Yeah.
But this specific story happens to talk about a frog. The Simon Wheeler's telling a story about Jim Smiley, and his frog, and how a stranger comes to town and Smiley bets him that his frog can outjump any frog in Calaveras County. So the county that they're in the story. So now we're in a story within a story within a story.
Literally.
It's crazy.
I don't even think about like collecting frogs or measuring how high they can jump or anything. But
Exactly. It's kind of a funny thing to bet on. But while Smiley goes to find a frog for the stranger tricks him. And he gives
Oh no.
like quail food or something.
No, it's
Shot.
like shotgun,
Yeah.
Yeah, metal.
like
Oh.
metal.
Oh, he gives
like for
metal
shooting
to the frog.
quail.
Like,
He like
yeah,
dumps it
feeds
down
it.
his throat.
It's almost like if he just put rocks in him.
He called it
Yeah.
quail shot, so it's like BB gun.
Okay.
Like if you think of like something with a BB
Yeah.
gun,
right.
like tiny little bullets that when you
Yeah.
put it in him, he's not going anywhere.
Heavy.
So this frog that supposedly can jump higher than any, it now is weighed down by a ton of BB gun pellets.
Whose name, by the way, has a first and last name? This frog has a first and last name. Daniel
Daniel
Webster.
Daniel Webster.
Daniel.
Who
I
is
feel
the?
like I would name a frog that.
It's the name of the man who was known for making the dictionary.
Oh wow.
So somebody, Daniel Webster's dictionary, you know.
What?
That is like the guy who's like really smart and knows how to do all the
That's
things.
so
and so this is a
funny.
really smart
clever.
frog, can
Oh,
learn
okay,
so much.
Okay.
He
That's
taught
clever.
But they're just saying
That's
it
so
like
funny.
Daniel.
Well, it's
Because
just
the
because
Southern.
it's
Yeah.
how he talks.
Daniel
Right.
Webster.
Yeah.
Mark
Calaveras
Twain is
County.
just so good at like writing dialect. That's like
Yes.
one thing he's
That's
really known
so
for.
Yes.
So true.
So, Smiley and his plan is foiled. His frog does not outjump the stranger's frog
Because he doesn't jump at all.
because it doesn't budge.
He can't move.
Daniel Webster does not move anymore.
Poor frog.
And the guy wins the
Stuffed.
prize money. The stranger wins the prize money, gets away. And it wasn't until the guy gets away with
After
the
he
money
left,
that
yeah.
Jim Smiley
The plot is
Realizes
discovered. The trick.
discovers the trick.
Yes.
And then stepping outside of the story that Simon Wheeler's telling, the narrator, the main character, escapes before he can hear another story at this point.
He escapes.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's so funny to me.
And there's a lot in the story, like we are just talking about Daniel Webster is one of those cool bits of what did you say, dialect
Mm.
that Mark Twain writes very well. And I just want to talk a minute about kind of the culture and setting of the story, which is 1865, the California Gold Rush, and in the American West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you said, like being really good at capturing dialect. Like a lot of in Mark Twain's works, the things that he's setting out to do, it's almost like when you're painting, like he's like trying to paint a still life of like a plein air painting or something of like a moment in time.
Yeah.
Or
Like he does
people.
with Huckleberry Finn
That's
or
a
Tom
good-
Sawyer.
Yes,
Right.
It's
exactly.
just a very Americana
Where he's
kind
just
of
fascinated by the people that live in this time, and so he just wants to like capture them as fully as he can capture them, and so that's by telling these weird
Which is
stories.
beautiful, but also crazy.
Right, because
Right.
it can feel when you're reading it like, what's the point of this story?
Mhm.
Like, is there a moral here, or is there a deeper
Plus-
meaning?
I just picture too, just a really small town that's super slow about everything. This guy's just sitting on his porch. Who
Yeah.
loves to talk to anyone who comes by. It's just like this small town picture I get, but it makes sense because those in the Gold Rush times, I guess, like there's a lot of different places that sprouted up, like that popped up,
Mm.
and they all started small,
Yeah.
right? And they all had a sort of a single purpose, but they all
Right.
were sort of spread out, but none of them were that big.
Mm.
And so it's captured like a lot of different places in one.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
and gold mining, if you think about it, for one, it required a lot of faith.
Yeah.
Like you needed to hear the tall tale of somebody striking gold and making it rich.
Ah.
You need the
Yeah.
exaggerated story
yeah.
to get you out there to
give
go
you
do this
hope.
very tedious kind of work that is, slow.
Right, because how do people buy into this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this kind of storytelling makes sense because for one, it entertains you,
Mhm.
entertains the mind
Exactly.
Right.
from the dull practice of Sifting through
Sifting.
rocks all day.
Very
The
tedious.
long waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Long
Yeah.
waiting. So there's a lot of history of the people that were there, the work they were doing, and how they
Yeah.
even got there.
Yeah.
No modern amenities. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And
So
also
they needed
how
something like that.
these stories were told like orally. Like how
Oh,
this
yeah.
whole like
Mhm.
tale was shared by meeting a stranger. Like he just bumps into this guy and now this guy's telling him this whole history behind who is Jim Smiley. Jim Smiley's not even here. But we're talking to Simon Wheeler. And
Yeah.
Simon Wheeler's
Right.
talking about Jim Smiley, and now we hear this whole like
Yeah, that's so
storyline
interesting.
and how that history is shared between people.
Yeah.
And it's like really interesting too that like as we're talking about this, just like recognizing that these communities that are forming, they're like everyone that's in those towns is built around the same, is there for the same purpose. Like there's not even really that many people that are living in these places that aren't there for the gold, you know, which is kind of interesting, and just thinking of like how that develops like a cultural mindset of like values and you know, like this guy has a gambling addiction.
Yeah. He
Well, it
did.
makes
know,
me
it's
think
like-
though that like
Interesting.
maybe he
You know?
gave up on the gold mining.
Oh,
So he's trying to find a different way to strike it rich.
Yeah, exactly. Like
In the midst of
that's the whole
Whoa.
the goal is like you're out there for the gold because it's like you can get rich really quick and like
Mm.
suddenly change your whole life because you have so much money. And
Struck gold.
when
That's
he's
kind of the
talking
same
about
promise of
betting
gambling.
$40 on a frog, which to us is like that's not that big of a deal.
True, but to
But
them.
$40 in 1865 would
That
be a
was
fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot.
So maybe he just felt like this is a much quicker way to get money than trying to gold
Well,
mine.
and also like these camps probably like these mining camps probably like brought a bunch of different kinds of gamblers. So like if you're like already all around like everybody else is like minded in the sense of we gamble. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
True.
he's like, how can I use this to my
And we might read it and see it as like this moral question of should you gamble or should you not gamble. But I don't even think that was Mark Twain's intention in
Yeah.
writing this. And I think
Oh,
your
yeah.
picture of capturing like a still life or a plein air painting is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because while we see it as something that might not have much like meaning to it, it's a way like that Mark Twain captured a moment in time and turned it into art by creating the story.
Yeah.
And the art is in the accuracy of the characters he told and in the scene that he put and the things that they were doing. It's this snapshot back in time
That's so good.
that we have no connection to. It doesn't look anything like our ordinary life or our everyday.
Right.
But we get to kind of
And honestly, that's so beautiful to like be able to capture a people in a moment in history.
yeah.
Because I feel like in that sense, like, you know, a painting speaks 1,000 words, but like at the same time, like there's still something that's like missing in the aspect of you don't know how they spoke, you don't know how they, you know,
think or
way of
interact.
life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is a very like I mean, like if there was a picture with this story and then you have like this full well-rounded, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's just cool to me.
It does give you a very lifelike impression. And I do think there is like this theme of integrity that's kind of woven through this story when we're talking about
See
like
that.
deception and trying to out trick one another, or
Hmm.
even what Jim Smiley's whole thing was with training every animal to do its natural thing. Like it's part of the show that he's doing. And I think that is a really interesting theme that I wanted to explore a little bit in light of the gold rush, and we've already been talking
Well,
about
it's
that a
kind of
little bit.
interesting how, Jason, you were talking about these towns are pretty small. And you think if everybody's trying to deceive each other all the time, it makes it very hard to build a community that stays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point.
Because if you're always, trying to slip something by somebody or
Yeah.
cheating
You
cards or
become
you're
known really quick.
exactly as
Or
not trustworthy.
not trustworthy.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's a pretty like real Wild West because there's probably not very much like legal enforcement of any kind,
Yes.
that's like
yeah.
preventing people naturally from, cheating someone out of a lot of money
Right.
or stealing or violence or any of those kinds
Yeah.
of things,
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, even in that, how the narrator's first reaction to his assignment was distrust. I wonder if this is a trick,
Yeah.
which does say
True.
speak to the way it was,
Mhm.
as you're saying.
It makes me think. It reminds me that this, the narrator is also a newcomer. He doesn't live there.
Mm.
He's come from somewhere else.
And he doesn't
And
stay.
his impression, leads him to leave.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's so interesting. I'm kind of like wondering how the like presence of so much, because I mean, I don't know a ton about like what gold rush life was like, but it's pretty dangerous, right? Like mining in this kind of way, like it's in just like an instant or really suddenly you can lose your life or get really injured doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like wondering how the like immediacy of danger and like life-threatening kind of situations like affects people's view of integrity or how they're how willing they are to like follow some sort of moral code.
Interesting.
So almost like when you live in the moment
Yeah.
or live for the moment,
Yeah.
you don't have that long view of life.
Yes, that's
that
so good.
That requires integrity and like if I interact with you again, I want to build rapport and relationship because
what is respect?
we need one
or
another.
honor.
But if you're thinking I might not be alive tomorrow,
right.
That mindset of I'm never going to see this person again.
Yeah.
How often do you think
Yeah.
that, and then do you see them again?
Combined with the
I love-
idea that you can get personally rich, making you think mostly about yourself, I would guess. In that case, like your whole point of going out there was so that you would be rich,
which is also makes me think about you get personally rich, but then now you're the biggest target in the town.
Yeah.
So there has to be layers of like poker face.
Yeah.
Like I'm never going to reveal my true
Yeah.
That makes sense.
status because if I do, I'm going to be deceived or
Yeah.
taken advantage of or outsmarted by somebody else who's less honest than I am.
And I think it's interesting too, like there's that poverty mindset that makes you more willing to take and take.
Wow.
And
yeah.
it can kind of make you more focused on yourself and in this moment and there's no future. And can cause a lot of rupture within a community.
But strangely, at the same time, if this guy does live there, the one that's telling us all these stories, and is known there more than likely very well, then there's a certain acceptability of what he's doing, almost because of the humor in it or the entertainment value of it or something. Like the rest of their work is so dangerous and drab, and tedious that they need something like that, and they're willing to put up with it because the rest of the life is tough.
He feels like a almost like the community historian or the keeper of the story.
Yeah, the
bard, or like
yeah, true.
I've been reading Wendell Berry's Jayber Crow. He's like the barber,
Nice.
but he carries the community's stories because he's the one that knows everybody and he's been there for so long.
Wow.
And so maybe that's what this guy is. It's like the keeper of the community stories.
Community bard.
And
That's
so
good.
it's like you just gotta meet this guy, because he just it doesn't
tell
matter
you
what
a
story he
story.
tells, he can tell a story.
I mean, that's true. If you're good at telling a story, then any story can be like a good one to listen
If you know how to spin it.
Yeah. And I think
Don't really need
that
to.
character is such a good picture of how Mark Twain wove together this story, where the setting isn't just a backdrop, but it's like essential to like the understanding of this place and why the characters behave the way they do. It's all important, not just a place that they are, but it's half of the story, the place that they are. So a lot of thoughts on this story. If you read it, I hope you can dive into this and start unraveling some of these Inception stories in here. We sure did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Share your comments in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. But until next time, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for joining us on the Rooted Minds podcast. If you're enjoying the kinds of discussions we're having, consider joining our learning community, where we teach the arts and have many more discussions like these. But until next time, may you find joy, grace, and peace in the pages you turn.